Welcome back to the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. For the guest we had on today, it was super unique. We had Ritesh Shah and Joe Howe on, really talking about Ritesh's journey, like what he went through and what kind of like sparked him to create the Ritesh Shah Charitable Pharmacy, which great story. He's also got a book out. We'll put that book in the show notes as well with a link to it and along with the link to their org if you want to support it. So great people, great cause. So we'll take you there now.
I was going to text you today. I hope you got my copy. We are trending number 1 on Amazon in pharmacy.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they are.
I didn't get the book yet. Did you send it to our office?
No, it's on Amazon, but I'd love to send you to office.
I can grab it. I'll buy it from Amazon.
Yeah.
So I gotta support.
I'll be honored.
I gotta support the pharmacy, right? So,
please grab it from Amazon, but I will be honored to send one for you, one for Vikas, one for the office. I'll autograph it and send it to you.
That'd be great for you to sign it. Yeah.
I'll send it. I will make sure that happens.
okay. I'll definitely buy a copy from Amazon. So,
Yep. Well, thank you. Every copy sold is one life saved, how we say it. So.
Nice. All right. Well, good stuff, man. Well, this is pretty format wise. I think Brandon already talked to you about it, but like this is just a conversation here. We like Himmel's talked about how interesting y'all's story was, and Himmel had the great idea of getting with Brandon to like get this scheduled and get it done. So I appreciate everyone like finding the time. Just in general, it's a lot of firepower on this call. I'm just a lowly sales guy in general. So with the rest of you, it took a ton of time out of y'all's day to give us a little bit of story about pharmacy and Ritesh, even like your story a little bit. I was reading about it. Brandon took good notes for me. I was just like I'd like to just start like a little bit of Ritesh of like how you kind of got in the pharmacy, got like started on the journey, maybe up into the charitable pharmacy portion of it. But like, love to like understand that story if you can.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be my honor. Truly how I say, first of all, thank you so much. And the story is about pharmacist story. I was born and raised in India and immigrated here in early mid-90s. I got married to a pharmacist, my wife, St. John grad, cleared all my board exams and everything. But I always been part of a community. In my previous job in India, I was a product manager, training salespeople, they call it a medical representative. And more talking about clinical pharmacy and talking about the drugs. At the age of 24, right after doing my management and pharmacy, I had a team of about like 100 plus employees, and some of them were like twice the age of mine. And I was like, how do I talk to them? The Indian culture.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Indian culture, Hamill can appreciate this. Like, we call them uncle. We don't call them by name. And talking to them, training to them. And one of them, member Ashok, who lives in Mumbai, India. I'm still in touch with him, and he's a part of my story in a book, how I was able to help him with the diabetes and how that pharmacist was growing. But when I immigrated to live American dream in our great country that I have made my home almost 30 years now, pharmacist was in the center of the core, working for a chain drugstore. Immediately, I moved in to independent community pharmacy in 2001 in Homedale. I must share that the pioneer of BestRx, the founder, Hamill's dad, flew for me from Chicago. I was one of his staff, like maybe 10 or 20 customers. And he came and broke the system because it was so expensive for me. And BestRx was installed in Bayshore Home Care Pharmacy. And he stayed with the guy who was at a Hoffman Pharmacy. I remember that story and how Yogesh, came in my life, and I've been very helpful and kind. And then I met these kids, Vikas and Hamil, and they took this. So that's how my relationship with the BestRx started almost 25 years ago. And, in my personal story, it was from one pharmacy to the other pharmacy and staying engaged in a community throughout this journey. I always got involved in a community like Bayshore Healthcare Center, Wade Bank Senior Center, then doing those classes and getting engaged in a health camp of New Jersey. And this was all charitable work at Skin Foundation. Throughout the journey, I met Senator Wingopal. Before politics, he was just a kid who was entrepreneur, and he taught me how you can get engaged in a community. Became very close friend, and now he's one of the rising star in New Jersey politics and government. He's a Senate Majority Whip, a pro supporter to community pharmacy who helps in fighting for our cause against PBM. But with that, a lot of accolades came, Mark, on my way, becoming a pharmacist of the year, saving patients' life from one pharmacy to having 7 drugstores. For 20 years, I had a successful career running those pharmacies. Then 2019, I had an opportunity to join as a CEO of Legacy Pharmacy Group to lead this GPO. We had about close to 100 plus pharmacies. Today, we have about 700 plus pharmacies in our GPO in about 15 states. And then that led to me walking into the pandemic and then working with governor, state of New Jersey, a lot of senator, legislators with the COVID specimen collection. I remember my call with the health secretary, Alex Azar, under Trump administration, how community pharmacists can get involved. And there was an op-ed in a Star Ledger, New York Times, and heavily got involved. I was the first one to testify in a board of pharmacy that community pharmacists should get, opportunity to do this. We deployed 100 plus pharmacists overnight. I remember buying a Zoom platform with 100 capacity and it crashed.
Oh, you just crashed it. Okay.
And 150 people joined at one time. And Mark, it was just more about pharmacists. My wife and I, we personally doing out of my home garage testing, going to the firehouse and vaccinating. And October 2021, while COVID was getting under control and then surge happened, I decided to go to India to celebrate Diwali with my baby sister, which I have not done in 25 years that time. And I lost her. She contracted virus and that meeting never happened. So a lot of brother and sister stories and inspired by those true stories, I decided to honor her by opening up a charitable pharmacy as it was her desire to do something for poor people who don't have any means of getting it. Because she always told me, like, listen, you're a big CEO, you brag about it. Why healthcare is not affordable? You should do something about it. So something came in my heart, reached out to my network. One of the phone call was Hamal Desai, and Hamal said, Ritesh, done for a lifetime. You have my software. You never have to pay for it. We'll support this cause that you have starting this, because he understands the Indian custom and how we do brother-sister celebration, all that. I had no words. I had tears in my eyes. And not only Hamel, but so many joined our mission, like Dr. Howe, whom I met during pandemic. I never met him before. But so that pharmacist, right, from inside, the oath that we take as a pharmacist to serve the community. How I tell my students when I go and talk to my students, I've been preceptor for Rutgers Pharmacy School. And, there is also, I have mentioned so many students that I have honored, coaching them, guiding them. So as I was doing it, writing it, I have everything goes on my pencil paper. So I was writing it, I put it in a paper and pencil. And my daughter said, Dad, you're doing all this thing. And she saw something when we were cleaning our closet and when we were renovating our house during pandemic, because we need to do something, right? And my daughter inspired me that, Dad, put it in a story. And, we are honored that a big publication house put it in this. And Dr. Howe been amazingly supportive and the appeals to purpose. The book was born. And at Charitable Pharmacy, we opened up our doors in April 2022 on a Good Friday. I remember the conversation with Reverend Porter and how he said a Hindu by religion couple comes to our highly dense Christian community on a Good Friday, which was an early Passover for Jewish faith in holy month of Ramadan. And for me, like, God is one, and we see this, and we open up those doors. Today, we are 3.5 years now, dispensed more than $2 million worth of medication at no cost to patients. There's no cash register in our drugstore. We have about 500 plus lives, Mark, that we provide them of medications. Those who live 300% below federal poverty line. Those patients, they live in community, whether they live in a shelter, they're homeless. Some of them lives in garage. Some of them comes from phone calls that, hey, can you help out? This patient needs insulin. And that's how my story, my journey of has inspired. And my kids, I'm thankful to them. I'm thankful to my board members. I have an amazing son who is a doctor. He's a cancer doctor, radiation oncologist. He's been very supportive. My daughter, who did copyright filing whenever something comes in, she'll reach out. How we do this? And not only that, everyone at the advisory board members, it's God's work. As a mission has been joined by so many brave souls. I would put it this way, because it's a temple for us, and we are doing it. So this is a story of a pharmacist, from behind the counter to the front lines. This is how pharmacists can do. And hopefully there are so many pharmacists will get that message. And not only they need to get the message, but they are already doing it. And there are so many unsung heroes. That story has not been done. This is a story of all those pharmacists I was able to put in a book.
I'm sure. Yeah. It kind of tells a lot of people's story, probably in some way. Right. That makes a ton of sense. I guess the other thing I was just kind of like, I wanted to like go back to what you said. I think it was super interesting. I'm always like really interested in folks who are running preceptor programs and things like that. That must be a really unique, like a really differentiated program, in my opinion, because if you're running them through, it sounds like you're possibly running them through kind of the traditional retail model, but also like maybe they're doing time at the charitable pharmacy as well. Is that kind of how that mock-up is done? And like, I bet they're just taking away a whole different perspective.
No, so the preceptorship that I had it when I was independent pharmacist. But right now, charitable pharmacy is also included in at USC. Also, we had one student came in 2 years ago.
Okay,
that's a community engagement in that program. Those who have that philanthropic way of getting engaged. Currently, even though we don't have a program, I have a student named Laura. She is a P4, walking into P4 professional year. She was there last 3 months learning what pharmacists can do. She lives in Freehold, and she heard about this, and then she did more research, and she found out that, Asha Shah, she's a St. John alum, and she's in St. John's. So she reached out, and she gave her 3 amazing months. She could be like enjoying and going to the beach and having party, but she said, no, I want to support. And she's been amazing and taking their message to St. John University. So preceptor program where we are happy to work with so many colleges where students can come and we can show them other piece of a community pharmacist in a philanthropic work. Like, listen, pharmacists are pharmacists. You're taking oath to serve patient, a mankind, right? If you see the emblem of pharmacy, if you bought a pharmacy, whenever you go there, they're governing a medication access for patient. And I think that's what is happening at community pharmacy and at the charitable pharmacy.
All right. Well, Joe, I'm going to pull you back in. I might make you tell your story just a little bit again. So sorry, but like, so how did this relationship get formed? How did we go from, it sounded like a really tough time during the pandemic, and it sounded like you're like, I'm trying to get students in, but
absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know if we were on before, but I'm not a doctor in the clinical sense. It's always important to connotate that in these settings. I'm in the academic sense, I'm a school administrator. And that's how I met Ritesh back during the height of the pandemic. School had been closed for months, probably 9 months at that point. And one of the things that was necessary to reopen school was COVID testing. And so at the time, we were having almost daily convenings with hospitals, visiting nurses association, the health department. There were no COVID tests available. The state had a rollout of COVID testing that did not go well at all. And almost as a last-ditch effort, the borough administrator said, hey, I know this guy is a pharmacist in Freehold Township. You should give him a call. And so we were having very early mornings. I think I sent him an email maybe around 4:30 in the morning. I still have it. And he responded at 4:32 a.m., which I found out is a normal occurrence for him, even when we're not in emergency situations. And he said, sure, let's hop on a call later today. We did. And he said, you know what, I'm going to be there Sunday night. We'll keep the lab open all Sunday night so that you can reopen school Monday morning. And so I don't know that, I didn't know Ritesh back then. And so I didn't believe that this was actually going to happen. And then he shows up himself with Asha and the rest of his team on Sunday with more COVID tests than we expected. And he did just what he said, and we were able to reopen school on Monday morning. And so he was the sole reason that we were able to reopen school at that time. And if that wasn't powerful enough, it didn't end there. We started talking pretty much on a daily basis, multiple times a day. He was able to do the same thing for us when it came to the vaccination effort. He came down himself, provided vaccines to our community. And then he was doing that not just for us, but so many other communities. He was doing it at the firehouse in town too, when we weren't open and doing vaccinations or testing. And, he told his story of the very personal reason that he opened the pharmacy, but seeing him interact with our community, a lot of people would tell him, hey, I know you're a pharmacist. I'm having trouble getting my insulin. I'm having trouble getting inhaler for my child who has asthma. Can you help me? And I think it kind of dripped into the back of his mind that, hey, there's a real need here. I can make a real difference. And, people often ask me, when was the turning point where I was all in? We had a girl with a rare genetic disorder. And one day after school, right after dismissal, the school nurse was crying. There were a couple teachers crying there. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And they started telling me about this. Said she needs liquid potassium. It's going to be $500 a week. The father's a landscaper. Mother cleans houses. There is no way they can afford this medication. I said, well, it's New Jersey. So I said, of course, I know a guy. I get Ritesh on the phone, and he's like, with it, I was preparing the pitch and all of this, and he just says, done. Send him to my pharmacy, Marlboro Medical Arts Pharmacy, that he has. Send him there. It's done. And so just like that, he saved the life right in front of my eyes there. And so from that moment on, I was all in on whatever he did. Anytime he called, 4 a.m., midnight, whenever he needed me, I was there. And so that was my involvement in it.
Right. Yeah. I imagine, Himmel, I'll throw to you a little bit. Imagine during that time, I'm sure Ritesh, you were one of the folks probably driving some of this. It kind of was a little bit of, I think, for a lot of us, getting bit by a radioactive spider a little bit during COVID, right? Like the pharmacy systems had to change. I know Himmel did a bunch of that work.
Yeah, for us, I remember during COVID, my friends are sitting there, they're at home. Yeah, we're working at home. We're not doing much, this and that and everything like that. And it's like, man, we are busier than ever because, our clients, they're continuing to operate. They're continuing to dispense medications. But not only that, we've got to find ways that they can serve their community in COVID, right? So we had to develop features that allow them to dispense remotely, take payments remotely, get vaccines going when that came around, do all that stuff. So, I think we're all in that industry right now. When you're in healthcare, you don't get to take a pause and drink frozen coffees and watch Tiger King or whatever that was called, right? But
yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah. We were all pedal to the metal during that time. I mean, not as much as the folks on the front lines that were dealing with the actual patients, obviously, like Ritesh and Joe, everything you all were doing is much more important than what we did. But, we definitely had to react a little bit as well.
Yeah, we were trying to monitor literally. I think one metric we were trying to use for success was how late we would see claims get processed. And so if we could make it a little more efficient so that they could leave at like 9 o'clock instead of midnight, you know what I mean? So, but Ritesh, I'll let you jump in.
Well, you know what, Anna, how Hamel said, right? The pharmacy software system and the BestRx, not all, the only one system that I have ever used in my system for 20 plus years, and still we have it there. But they were so helpful, and they went through a lot of trouble integrating with the system and combining all that stuff. And their work should not be unnoticed, right? Because they were staying up with us and then helped us so that way we can complete this cycle of the system so that way patient can do it. Because you know what? I remember printing the report for them, then calling the software, like, hey, they are flying. We need this QR code. And then Hamel calls, okay, we'll merge in the QR code with that stuff comes in. So all those conversations and BestRx to jump in and be supportive and not even thinking about, hey, there'll be extra money for this and this. That was not even conversation. So those kind of things that happen during that time. We were in different times. Yesterday, I was at the dinner table and I was talking to my daughter who got into Villanova, and she was crying because she lost almost her 6 months of college life because of pandemic and 1 year. And she said, "We don't had a full experience of my undergrad, like, okay, but we had this and we did this." So many way how world was changed, and it's and I still complain. It's very unfortunate that happened in my life, losing a precious human life. But God always has a plan. And through that painful incidents, I met so many brave souls like Joe. And I have about 15 of them serves on board, and so many volunteers. Like Thursday, I have Daniel comes and volunteers at Charitable Pharmacy. I have a lady who want to be a doctor, comes from Edison, drives there at the Charitable Pharmacy, whom I never met. And those kind of people, volunteer pharmacists. So the message that we are sending as a pharmacist, as a healthcare professional, what we can do, that's a beautiful thing, like in what we can do. And again, for the book purpose also, Mark, every copy of this book gets sold. All money goes to the foundation. And our tagline is one book sold is equal to one life saved. Because, you're buying that book for $20. I think with after printing costs and all that stuff, we get about $10, $12, right? With that $12, it's a lot of money for one patient. That's like one patient's 2 or 3 months of 1 month supply of 2 or 3 medications. And you are getting involved and you're saving patients' life. And as a pharmacist, if you can do this and take this mission, I think who would better understand than a pharmacy software system who goes through each and every day working with a community pharmacy and a pharmacy like us. I remember BestRx provided helping hand and started that initiative with the Nova Central script, and they reached out and spoke to Dr. Donnie John. So I know where your company, BestRx has merged with the Red Cell, and where your inner executives, where their heart is, and which is applaudable, how much you give back. So those kind of thing makes this kind of mission stronger.
Yeah, it's really real. When we brought in BestRx in general, it's like just how you can tell it starts at the top as well, like all the way from Himmel and down, like just how creative people you're getting into the org, that we got an injection of really just like great people, which was super exciting. And obviously every org change or something like that comes with different personalities and different people, but I think just everybody was just like, oh my gosh, he's like smart and a good dude. Everybody was saying. And so we echo that, at least from our side, for sure.
One of the things that I learned that I didn't know about once we joined Red Sail was QS1, which is also a Red Sail system. they have a long history of helping charitable pharmacies, freeing charitable pharmacies. So they have dozens, more than that, clients that are using the NRX system, and they have been doing so for many years at very affordable prices. So, coming into the organization that already has a history of helping out with that was really refreshing to see. And it's great because we can see as more free clinics and charitable pharmacies come on, being able to offer them solutions, continuing, like we have many of them starting to use BestRx now as well. With the help of you, Ritesh, and Donnie, seeing other options and things like that. So, it's not just a BestRx thing. It's an entire Red Sail thing. It's been in their DNA since well before we joined the Red Sail family.
Ritesh, I was going to make you spend a little bit of time talking about the people. I read where a note was your wife is giving over 3,000 hours of time to this org as well. And I'm sure along with Joe and everybody else, there's probably even more thousands of hours among the people involved.
Today, Joe and I, we started working around 5:30, 6 o'clock with what's happening and all that stuff. So before I start my daytime job, right, and a crowd goes on. But coming back to Asha, not that I want to steal the thunder from people, those who want to read my book, but there is a special chapter. And let me put it very simply. This charitable pharmacy would not have born if she was not there. I'm not saying because she's my wife and because, with so many reasons. When I lost Reina and this, and I remember, the Indian 13th day we do ceremony after my sister passing, and then our conversation was that, hey, we want to do this. We flew back home, and then I told her about this idea, like, let's do this, and she said, sure, don't worry about it. I asked her, we have this beautiful building, can we put this forever for this purpose and not worry about that? We had this building. Says Ritesh, sure, we'll think that. Since that, probably we'll think we came 2 years after, and we didn't make that money. And for sister, nothing is better than that. So the tie in an Indian custom, brother can only give it to sister, right? Hamal will understand that tie that we do that on a day. So that was one portion of it. And kids said, whatever you want. Second thing came, how do we get pharmacists? $150K salary. Asha had retired because as I became CEO of this. So I told Asha, because at that time was a rough time. So I remember Asha told me, Ritesh, I will be nice to you again and I'll go back to work. And she put her white coat on. She was the only pharmacist for first 1 year, every single day. She was at the charitable pharmacy with the same passion how we ran together our 7 owned pharmacies. Our lifestyle was, she'll go in the morning, I'll do marketing, detailing, whatever needs to be done, paperwork, bank deposits, come back around 1-ish. She'll go home, get something to eat, get things ready. Kids come from the school bus, pick it up around 2:30, gets engaged with them. Look at that. She's not only she works, she makes sure we have food. Sometimes I've wanted that Indian food 3 times, 4 times a week. And kids get their stuff. One is a doctor, second is a lawyer. She did amazing. And very next day, when Charitable Pharmacy was born, every single day, we were empty nester. Here we go, 8:15. She will be in her car. I said, Asha, we open up at 9, 10 o'clock. I said, nope, I need to go. I need to prepare for the shift. I want to make sure I put my white coat on, make sure the computer is working, make sure all patients taken care of. Same mentality.
She's got an org to run, right?
Yep. And she has that amazing experience. But not only she did that, but she makes sure she asked that question to the patient if their husband or wife or sister who needs this help. She'll make sure that they get their medication. She educate them. And my son, who is a doctor, and with other doctor who's in pipeline, Asha, they created amazing, educational program for us, working with Dr. Naveen Mehrotra, Dr. Meena Murthy, those who are endocrinologists and this, and we have Dr. Sumal Raval. So getting formulary, working with them. But Asha was the brain behind getting that formulary. These are the life-saving medication. We need to have this. We need to acquire that. Works very silently. She doesn't want to be front cover. She doesn't want to be in podcasts. She doesn't want to be in newspaper. No, you want it? We'll get it done. And she's like, I'm there for you forever. Whatever you need. And that kind of support. So, and then she inspired some other people to join. So 3,000 hours, not that I was counting it, because one time we both got very sick. And I said, how do we keep these doors open? Then I reached out to Satish Fundi, who's a very well-known attorney and a lawyer. And he said, Ritesh, by law, we need to have a pharmacist in a present. But if somebody knows the system, I can be there. And so that way the patient doesn't get. And then we learned, oh my God, what happens? Or then what happens if we go on vacation? How are we going to run a pharmacy? Then we acquired that time a part-time pharmacist, and then she volunteer pharmacist. So her role is very crucial. And without her, this would not have happened. Because listen, I'm extremely busy, occupied with legacy health, and my other operations. And even though it's my heart, and I say this, and I'll end by saying this, it requires a lot of courage and inner strength to do this, what we do. We do get emotionally attached, our heart goes out. But when it comes to put the physical time, I know it's hard. And for her to do that, to honor my baby sister, I told her, if it was a reverse formula, I said, Asha, I would not have been able to do it for you. I just want to be honest with you. And that's why it's very important what she has done for us.
That's huge, man. I was speaking of like just like getting attached and or any of that kind of stuff. I just wanted to understand like a little bit of like the approach to trying to dispense those medications. And what I mean by that is like, you kind of already said it, but it sounds like you're trying to make the most impactful list of drugs in order to try to save as many lives as possible, with probably a limited resources from that perspective too. So you probably have to make choices. And then also like there's it with those types of patients. I've been experienced with serving pharmacies that have some of those patient types, and you're like, you'll see them for 2 months straight, and then you use all your resources just trying to find them in that way.
So Mark, answering that question, I think you are hitting right on the nail. We have about 2% of patient population. Some don't get qualified for Medicare, Medicaid, because they are making a little bit more than what guidelines are. And some cannot now, those people cannot afford to buy insurance because their premium will be in 2000s. So now those lives, what happens to them, right? You have that they're living in a rental home, and their rental home, and then a food that they need to buy. And now they don't have that much left to buy for medication. So in my simple words, I want them to save that money for that grocery. And that money, instead of spending that in a pharmacy, and those lives, those who are not taking medication, we did survey before we opened up. There are about 18,000 prescription in Monmouth County and surrounding areas never reaches to the drugstore. Never reaches to the drugstore after patient gets discharged from the hospital or from the doctor's office because they just don't have money, so it never enters the drugstore. What happens to those lives? So the mission, that's where, listen, it was very simple for me. If I can save one patient life after losing one life from my life, my mission is complete. And now having 500 plus patients and having this amazing pharmacy. So, we have guidelines. If you're living 300% at or below federal poverty line, which is like $18,000 for one, and then if you multiply this, and those who are going through the safety net clinics using prescription, they don't have money to see doctor. Those are the patients. And so many pharma companies, Dispensary of Hope, Direct Relief, a lot of pharma manufacturing. Their CEOs that I know, Chirag Patel at Amneal Pharma, Legacy Health. My partner's been amazingly been very supportive. So we get those kind of resources so I can do this. And developing that formulary, as you asked that in that question, was life-saving medications. We have diabetes medications. Eli Lilly through Cardinal Health joined our mission. We have 8 different kind of insulin that we provide at no cost, which is Humalog, Humulin, Biseglar, Trulicity, and Humalogs. So, and life-saving frontline sulfonylureas and those medications like metformin, glargine, all that. Then heart medications, blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications. And then third category is our mental health movements. The stigma, the fear, the mental health is huge in students, all that. So these are the all stuff with the nutritional. And the personal story is my sister suffered with all that stuff. So there's a connect. So we wanted to make sure what took her life, we provide that access to the people. These are the frontline life-saving medication. You need that metoprolol, beta blocker. You need that digoxin. You need that basal insulin. You need that lispro insulin. If your hemoglobin A1C is at 13, 14, or 15, they're going to be in a kidney failure. They're going to have peripheral neuropathy. They will have eye issues. I have seen enough practicing as 20 years as a pharmacist. I know how broken healthcare system we are in. So what happens to those lives? So, you know what, I'm fulfilling my promise by doing this, and I'm continue doing this. We are getting some phone calls from throughout the state to open up our second and third branch, and God willing, that will happen. So this is how the formulary was work. This is how we help our patient. If you go to our rscprx.org, which is Romeo, Sam, Romeo, X-ray, rx.org, we have very simple process. I hate paperwork. I'm like one pager. Can I do one pager? So, right? Very less. So, they go fill out, comes to the pharmacy, prescription comes electronically. We have great BestRx system, electronics comes in. We have attestation of patient. We ask them, hey, this is what's happening. So they get medicine. And the medications about now with the different strength, about 500 of them that we have, they have zero substance abuse potential. They're life-saving medication. Nobody's going to abuse metoprolol or nobody's going to abuse insulin, right? So people are coming, those who are genuinely, they need this. And so many testimonies, so many blessings, and happy to share some of them. Hamel, I'll share with you when they say, how they say it and what they feel. It helps you here. We all have to sleep at night. We all have to take good karmas with us. And this is what a pharmacist can do, all good karmas and the people surrounded by our mission.
Wow. It's do you have a specific patient story you like to tell?
Yeah, there are so many, and I had my program director, and they asked patient. I have a couple of videos that they recorded because I'm not there. I go there once a month to volunteer, but most recently, and he has given me one of my patients who used to come, Richard Krause, in my Bayshore Home Care Pharmacy for years, 15 years back. Life moved on, I moved on. He's been coming to the Charitable Pharmacy for the last 6 months. He made some wrong decisions in his life. According to his recording, he lost his business. He became homeless, and he had health issues, got hospitalized. Sugar is in 600, 700, kidney issues. And now he gets 2 different kind of insulin through Charitable Pharmacy. And what he said in his words, one day he will meet Ritesh. And it happened. About 2 months ago, I was volunteering as I go there, Mark, and I hear in the background, Ritesh. And I said, okay, probably there's a big board on a building, so somebody saw Ritesh, let's saying it. As I walk in and said, do you remember me? And I said, no. And then said, Ritesh, Richard Krause, I used to own a bar, if you remember, 15 years ago. We haven't seen each other 15 years. And what he told us really moved me again, that insulin access, medication access, he'd been getting it. And he was so thankful to the staff and to us. so many patients, I said, right after opening of the pharmacy, who gets 6 or different medications, clonidine, digoxin, all that comes from lunch break. Our sister, our partner organization that we work very closely with, Lunch Break Partner Clinic. So many of those, and I'm happy to share their testimony. Actually, we are displaying it at the gala. Some of them, yes. So September 13th at 6 p.m., not only I'm doing book launch, but we are doing a gala. And that time, there is a big well-known Chowder Films. They're doing documentary on a pharmacy, and he was able to get few patients to say how they felt. I have not seen it, but I'm happy. I'll see like what kind of work is being done.
That'll be a great one to unveil when y'all are ready.
Ritesh, you got to share that one story. What was that one in the newspaper? This may have been pre-Charitable Pharmacy, but remember when you made the newspaper for saving that person's life?
Yes. That's February 2017.
Yeah.
February 2017, when I was working in a DrugSmart pharmacy, my third drugstore. Again, Katrina Thompson, this article is still there on app.com and Asbury Park Press. So Katrina, I know her on her meds and everything. And as she comes in, walks in, I was in a morning shift working, and she comes to the counter and says, "Ritesh, can you check my blood pressure? I'm not feeling good." I said, "Katrina, looks like you're not, because I see your pupils and you're perspiring." So I checked her blood pressure. It was dangerously low, like 38 or 54 or something. I said, "Holy cow." I told Leo, my clerk, I said, "Hey, give me Sprite. Let me run in a bag." So, in a pharmacy, in a apothecary pharmacy, we keep sodium chloride tablets. So I said, "You know what, let me grab some sodium chloride tablets, get some salt." So I crushed them and put some Sprite, sugar. So I thought maybe it's a hypoglycemic condition or hypotensive condition, something pharmacist's brain. I crushed it. As I'm bringing that, Katrina's coming down on me, getting ready to faint. So I grabbed her, opened up her jaw, shoved it in her mouth, tapped her on her chest. I said, "Hey, let it go, let it go." We called 911. Everybody was like, all my patients were like, "Whoa, what happened here?" So he goes to hospital and all that stuff. 3 days later, when I'm opening up drugstore again, I have some reporters, News Channel 12 and all that at front. And they start asking, we are here to interview Ritesh Shah, pharmacist. I said, "Yeah, that's me. I hope there's no robbery here."
You're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?"
Yeah. And they said, "Did you know you saved a patient's life?" I said, "No." I said, "We want to connect you with Dr. Daniel Yu, the ER doctor." So ER doctor says, "Ritesh, Katrina had a pulmonary embolism, a clot in her blood. And if I had not done what I did, she would have been in coma." And Katrina was connected. Her family was working as a reporter, and she told them, "I said, oh, should be a story, should be told." And it became a frontline newspaper story. And I was like, "Oh, wow." My son, I remember having conversation, got into med school that time and said, "Dad, how do you feel saving patients' lives?" So I told him, "Hey, after 7 years, you'll be doctor. Call me once you become doctor. Let me know what your feelings are." That was something that came into my way. And as a pharmacist, so I always believed, I always tell my students, if you do your job right as a pharmacist, things comes in your way. So that was the story. Thank you, Hamal, for reminding that was really, really helped me internally. So, and then listen, it went on. So.
Well, tell me a little bit about the, so a couple of things we're going to do. So the good news is from what you just said, we'll put that website in the show notes so that it's in all of the podcasts when this get posted. We'll put your book link in there as well, in case anybody, like you just said, hey, you're buying the book, you're saving a life from that perspective. But tell us a little bit about the book. I'd like to just close out with hey, you don't have to give anything away from that perspective. You want people to buy it and read it, but to tell us a little about what caused you to do it and a little bit about it.
So book is kind of it's my kind of a mini autobiography, my memoir, my journey from immigrating from India, becoming registered pharmacist here. And in this book, as a community pharmacist, before even Charitable Pharmacy was born, the true stories of my patients, my students, I was able to put them on a pencil and paper and put them in a book. And that book is about what pharmacist does every day. When they have a patient comes to the counter and don't have prescription coverage, and patient that pharmacist sees needs that inhaler and is not covered. It is still floating on one of my pharmacy, which I owned before, in their Facebook story. If you go up there in a 2016, 17, it's still there. What pharmacist does is opens up the inhaler, gives it to the patient, take the 2 puffers. I'll deal with the insurance company later on. And in my life, what happened? Insurance didn't cover it and patient didn't have insurance. What happens then? You're not going to take that life back from that patient. This is what community pharmacist does, takes that hit on that losing that money, but earns that patient forever and saves the life. And that internal soul satisfaction that you get, that so many pharmacists has felt it, that I was able to write in a Pills to Purpose. The Pills to Purpose is a story about pharmacists, either it's a Ritesh Shah or Asha Shah or Joe Smith or John Smith, delivering medication to the patient who's getting discharged from the hospital, that I have done several times. And so many, my fellow colleagues has done it so many times. And what happened then, that has been written in that book. And in that snow blizzard, somebody needed that nebulizer and was discharged. That story is written into this pharmacy, and written about a patient not to take aspirin when he was in a coma, and so on and so forth. It's a pharmacist story that pharmacist takes way behind the counter, and a pandemic that pharmacists, how they became on a front line, going to the railway station, going to the fire station, going to the home, and doing what they need to do, working with the labs and doctors and saving them lives, and how to get those emergency medication available for the patient. Those stories, when we had Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey, what happened then? I remember my wife and I, we couldn't lift the generator to put in our van to bring it to the pharmacy. And we had to steal those light lamps and bring it to the pharmacy. And I had to have police in front because there was no security. Those kind of situations, what pharmacist does. So Pills to Purpose is a story of those true stories happens in a pharmacy. And, we have an amazing website, pillstopurpose.com, and that is written about pharmacy. But every pharmacist, every cashier, every patient who buys this book, I guarantee you, pharmacists going to read that and say, "Oh, I have done that. Oh, this is my story. I do this." And I want pharmacists to feel that. I was just able to put that. And if you see the front cover, it's how pills has been footed by the protection of life, the precious life. And then you see what is going behind, that soul, how it gets satisfied. So I think that's the front cover of the story, front cover of the book, and what pharmacist does. So this book talks about pharmacists. It's about 190 pages, about 14 chapters, and how life came in. As you said, Mark, I'm not going to say a lot of things about what is inside, but I encourage everyone to read about the book and read about what happens. And you know what? Pause for a second, and let's think that ultimately the profession that we have chose, how much impact it can create in people's lives.
Yeah.
I think this is what book talks about.
Well, it's like a love letter to pharmacy almost, to a degree, which is so cool. It's also really good. Like, I'm sure every owner / pharmacist who's worked a bench can read that book and go, "I've done this. I felt this. I have my own version of this." But also, it's probably a great book for like a college kid in a P1, right? Or in like biology, thinking this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. If you're in that academic institution thinking about what it like, hey, pick up that thing to figure out like this is who you could be. Like, this is really what that is.
Wow. Yep. That did not even occur to that way, but great. I think
I would almost make every student read this book. I would do it.
yes,
I think that's why the pharmacy is such an attractive clinical site for students. It's not just a pharmacy. It really became a public health center because we have Joseph Howe has a civic association. There's a food pantry in the back. So if a patient comes in and they can't afford medication, they probably can't also afford food. And so they give them a bag of food, toiletries. Ritesh has taken many patients next door. There's a restaurant, gotten them a meal there. It's much more than just a pharmacy. He also does vaccination drives at local elementary schools for the starved schools so that students can get vaccines they need in order to attend school. He partnered with the local community college. We were talking about mental health and wellness before. They have a wellness center they opened up. We became a critical partner to them there. So it really is much more than just dispensing medication. It's really about the whole patient and all of their needs.
Mark, if you allow me to make a request for audience consideration, they can participate. We have seen in 4 years, and I started learning that people wanted to participate in giving and looking for organization. Our foundation is 501c3. All donations are tax exempt. I encourage them to join the mission, a pharmacist mission. Doesn't matter it's $1 or $100,000 donation or $10,000, right? All the proceeds goes in for this amazing cause. I always say this, hey, check out our 990 on a IR's website and see what pharmacist does and what kind of expenses we have and how pharmacists run this stuff. Or even purchasing a book on our 50 plus platforms, whether it's a Kindle version or is on Apple Books or Amazon or Barnes and Noble, supporting that. Or by you giving an idea, maybe some corporate people, they can sponsor and pick up 200 or 500 copies and maybe a gift during Christmas time that, hey, we did this. And you know what? This is the best gift. Let me send it out instead of sending pharmacists chocolates that has a lot of sugar and they're diabetic, right? So those kind of stuff, Mark, our website is rscprx.org. Even if you Google it, Ritesh Shah Charitable Pharmacies, only one in Jersey, one and only, and our book, pillstopurpose.com. I appreciate it. Anyone can consider to join our mission. And I want to say thank you, Mark and Hamel, for giving me this amazing opportunity to BestRx, the Red Cell, and understanding our cause and supporting those. Not that you're supporting this cause because this happened, but I know more than 2 decades how your company works and how.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful.
Going back to the 2 decades, it's been really impressive. I've known you, you mentioned my dad came, I came one of those times. So I've seen 4 or 5 different versions of Ritesh over the years, started off young, running his pharmacy and expanding, like you mentioned, 7 successful pharmacies. And if you wanted to focus on that, you could have gone to 20, 30, I have no doubt about it, but then shifted his focus to, helping political candidates that were advocating for pharmacy, became like a fundraiser, almost like a pseudo campaign manager for some of these folks. And I've worked with Ritesh on that. And then, becoming the CEO of Legacy, helping the pharmacy network grow and helping independent pharmacies achieve success with Legacy, and then the Charitable Pharmacy, now a published author, podcast star. So now, now I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the next 5 to 10 years, Ritesh, because I know you're not done yet. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Yeah. The work Joe and Ritesh, both of y'all are doing, obviously we all need it. The communities need it. This podcast really, I feel like, always highlights folks that just you could tell almost everyone successful really cares about what's happening in their community. So that's just another extension of that, another version of that, and appreciate you all being on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.